friends, fellow seekers of truth, I stand before you today not to merely speak of strength, but to unveil a power so profound, so unshakable, it transcends mere human understanding. A power that, once cultivated, renders you impervious to life's most venomous stings. You see, the world whispers of resilience, of bouncing back, but I speak of something far greater, an inner fortress, built brick by meticulous brick, thought by conscious thought, so formidable it utterly terrifies weakness. When you truly master your thoughts, my friends, you master your life. But if your mind remains a fragile vessel, adrift on the turbulent seas of external opinion, your boundless potential remains tragically trapped. Discipline becomes your gleaming sword, focus your impenetrable shield, and unwavering control your ultimate power. The question, then, is not if you will face storms, but whether you will train your mind to rise above every fear, every doubt, every incessant noise, or allow your mind to be controlled by the chaotic world outside. Decide now, for the world, I assure you, will respond accordingly. In just a few moments, you will learn precisely how to build a mind so strong, so unyielding, that fear and doubt no longer stand a single chance. The power of unwavering self-belief, my friends, is often tragically underestimated. Within each of you lies a fortress of unlimited potential, awaiting only the golden key of conviction to be unlocked. The moment you possess absolute, unshakable conviction in your inherent abilities, something truly remarkable, almost miraculous, happens. Obstacles, those formidable giants, dissolve before your very path. Consider deeply what truly separates those who ascend to profound greatness from those who merely dream about it. Is it superior intelligence, abundant resources, extensive connections? No, my friends, these are merely secondary factors. At the very core stands an unwavering self-belief, that immovable foundation upon which empires are meticulously built, because your life, your entire existence, expands or tragically contracts in direct proportion to the depth and unwavering conviction of your belief system. When insidious doubt creeps into the hallowed halls of your mind, possibilities, once vibrant, vanish into thin air. But when certainty takes hold, when conviction settles deep within your soul, mountains, those seemingly insurmountable barriers, miraculously become molehills. Society, that pervasive voice, constantly bombards you with insidious messages of limitation. Be realistic, they implore. Know your place, they whisper. These invisible chains, cunningly crafted, wrap themselves around your very thinking, restricting what you dare to pursue. But what if, I ask you, what if those limitations exist solely in the boundless expanse of your imagination? What if, through systematic mental conditioning, you could shatter those artificial barriers forever? Now comes the crucial question: how exactly do you forge this level of unshakable confidence? You begin by meticulously auditing every single thought that crosses the threshold of your mind. Become a vigilant gatekeeper, relentlessly scrutinizing what narratives you permit to take root and resonate deeply within your consciousness. Whenever a limiting belief appears, that insidious whisper of doubt, I'm not qualified enough, or people like me don't succeed at this, immediately, with unwavering resolve, replace it with its empowering counterpart. Speak to yourself with the conviction of absolute certainty. Make declarations, not suggestions. Transform the hesitant I am capable into the resolute I possess exceptional capability. Convert the uncertain I will try into the unwavering I will succeed without question. Consider the remarkable journey of Clarence Augustus Bartlett, a man from Yorkshire who, in 1962, stood before the esteemed British Parliament despite having been rejected an astonishing 17 times previously. What, my friends, distinguished him? While cynical opponents mocked his humble background as a coal miner's son, Bartlett responded with a statement that utterly silenced the chamber. "My father taught me that a man's worth isn't measured by his starting point, but by his unwillingness to accept defeat as final." A mere 6 months later, he passed legislation that irrevocably transformed educational opportunities for working-class children throughout England. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently accepting limitations that exist solely in the boundless expanse of your mind? Have you tragically confused temporary obstacles with permanent, insurmountable barriers? What extraordinary achievements, what profound contributions await you once you boldly demolish these artificial constraints? Your boundless potential, my friends, remains dormant, utterly unactivated, until it is ignited by absolute, unwavering belief. Now, observe what happens, what subtle shifts occur, when you begin operating from this place of unshakable confidence. People respond differently. Some, in their discomfort, become visibly uneasy, even intimidated. They sense something profound has shifted, something intangible they cannot quite identify. That magnetic certainty, that aura of conviction, becomes a powerful force that simultaneously attracts invaluable allies and unsettlingly disrupts those comfortably entrenched in mediocrity. When everyone around you settles for average results, for the mundane, but you, with unyielding resolve, stand firm in your conviction for excellence, it creates a stark contrast, a profound distinction that can, indeed, terrify those content with less. Make no mistake, my friends, developing this level of self-belief requires deliberate, conscious, unwavering effort. It will not miraculously materialize through passive wishing, through mere longing. Every single morning, visualize your success with such vivid, meticulous detail that your subconscious mind, in its profound wisdom, cannot distinguish it from tangible reality. Throughout each day, speak affirmations that powerfully reinforce your unstoppable nature. Diligently study the achievements of those who faced even greater obstacles than yours, yet prevailed through the sheer, unyielding force of their belief. Are you truly ready to construct a mind so powerful, so impenetrable, that doubt, in its insidious form, cannot penetrate its mighty walls? Can you commit to this profound transformation, knowing that once complete, you will become utterly unrecognizable to those who knew your former, limited self? The journey, my friends, begins with a single, pivotal decision. Will you continue accepting artificial limitations, those chains of your own making, or will you, with defiant spirit, embrace the boundless potential that already resides, patiently awaiting activation within you? Now, let us delve into the mastery of disciplined daily habits. Every extraordinary achievement throughout human history, every monumental triumph, began with something deceptively simple, almost unremarkable, a profound commitment to daily disciplines that compound relentlessly over time. Consider deeply what truly separates the champions of life from those who merely exist within it. Great minds, my friends, are not born inherently superior. No, they are methodically constructed, painstakingly built through consistent, deliberate habits, performed day after day, regardless of fleeting convenience or personal comfort. This mental fortitude, this unwavering inner strength, does not appear overnight. It emerges through systematic practice that irrevocably reshapes not just your capabilities, but your very identity. Why, then, does this habitual approach matter so profoundly? Because your mind, in its remarkable design, responds to conditioning with the same unwavering precision as your physical body. Just as muscles strengthen and grow under the purposeful stress of resistance, mental toughness develops through deliberate, intentional challenge. The ancient wisdom holds eternally true. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, becomes not an occasional act, a sporadic burst of brilliance, but a consistent, ingrained habit. When others observe someone who executes with machine-like precision, with unwavering reliability, regardless of the external circumstances, it creates a presence, an aura that intimidates through its sheer, undeniable reliability. Those who perpetually surrender to momentary feelings, to fleeting whims, find themselves perpetually intimidated by those who operate on unwavering principle rather than fleeting impulse. How do you implement this transformative approach? You begin by establishing non-negotiable rituals, sacred commitments that form the unshakable foundation of your day. Rise promptly at 5 a.m. while others sleep, lost in their dreams. Dedicate that precious first hour to profound mental conditioning, reading material that stretches your thinking, that expands your mind, meditation that centers your focus, bringing you to a state of inner calm, journaling that clarifies your intentions, solidifying your purpose. Protect this sacred time with the unwavering vigilance of someone guarding their most valuable possession, because your future, I assure you, absolutely depends upon it. Next, identify one uncomfortable action, one task you have been diligently avoiding, and commit to completing it before noon each day. This deliberate confrontation with discomfort fundamentally reprograms your neurological response to challenge, transforming avoidance into engagement. Consider the remarkable Hiroshi Yamaoka, who transformed a struggling Tokyo manufacturing company into an international powerhouse. When questioned about his extraordinary, almost miraculous rise, Yamaoka revealed that for 12 years, without a single exception, he devoted a consistent 90 minutes every morning to diligently studying international markets, meticulously absorbing knowledge, before his competitors even arrived at their offices. While they operated on reactive impulse, responding to the moment, he executed with strategic precision, based on foresight. My advantage wasn't intelligence, he once humbly explained to astonished shareholders, but rather disciplined consistency, when everyone else permitted themselves excuses. Ask yourself, with profound honesty, are you currently allowing your boundless potential to remain dormant, unexpressed, through inconsistent effort? Have you convinced yourself, perhaps subtly, that motivation must precede action, rather than understanding that disciplined action, diligently applied, actually creates motivation? What extraordinary transformation awaits you when you commit to excellence as an unwavering standard, a non-negotiable principle, rather than an occasional visitor, a fleeting inspiration. When your daily disciplines become unshakable, unyielding, something truly remarkable, almost unsettling, happens. Average people, those content with the mundane, become profoundly uncomfortable in your very presence. They sense your unwavering commitment, and it subtly, yet powerfully, exposes their own convenient excuses. Your relentless consistency highlights their compromise. Most individuals float aimlessly through life, responding to whatever feels convenient in the moment, surrendering their profound potential on the altar of temporary comfort. But when you develop rituals, those powerful daily habits that override temporary feelings, that transcend fleeting desires, you cultivate a mind that operates according to immutable principles, rather than fickle preferences. Make no mistake, this level of discipline initially feels uncomfortable, even unnatural. Society, in its pervasive influence, celebrates spontaneity and instant gratification, valuing fleeting pleasure above enduring results. Swimming against this powerful, cultural current requires profound conviction, a deep internal knowing that transcends conventional norms. Each morning will present you with the same fundamental, defining choice: temporary comfort or permanent greatness. The decision might seem small in isolation, insignificant even, but these daily choices accumulate relentlessly into the very foundation of your character. Can you commit to establishing 3 non-negotiable disciplines, beginning tomorrow morning? Will you protect these sacred rituals with the same unwavering vigilance you would guard your most valuable possession? Remember always that greatness never emerges from sporadic effort, from occasional bursts of brilliance, but rather from consistent, principled action, performed with unwavering commitment. The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that utterly refuses to negotiate with weakness. Now, let us unveil the iron will of persistence, something truly remarkable, something profoundly distinguishing, separates those who merely dream from those who transform dreams into vibrant, tangible reality. It is an unyielding persistence that categorically refuses surrender, regardless of external circumstances, no matter how dire they may appear. Consider any achievement of profound significance throughout human history. Beneath its polished surface lies a foundation meticulously built from countless rejections, from agonizing failures, and from debilitating setbacks that would have utterly destroyed someone with ordinary determination. This extraordinary capacity to continue forward, relentlessly, despite overwhelming evidence suggesting inevitable defeat, creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely terrifies opposition. When someone knows, with absolute certainty, that nothing, absolutely nothing, will halt your advance, not rejection, not failure, not even the relentless passage of time itself, they instinctively recognize an unstoppable force. Why, then, does this persistent mindset so powerfully separate extraordinary achievers from everyone else? Because most individuals mistakenly interpret failure as an endpoint, a definitive conclusion, rather than a necessary, vital component of success. They tragically surrender precisely when breakthrough hovers just beyond sight, just beyond their perceived reach. Study any significant accomplishment, any monumental triumph, and you will invariably discover the same fundamental truth. Success generally arrives precisely one step beyond where most people, blinded by their limitations, choose to quit. Those who internalize this profound wisdom, they develop an almost supernatural immunity against discouragement, a resilience that utterly mystifies average observers. Their unwavering resilience creates an aura of inevitability, a sense of destined triumph that opponents find profoundly unsettling. You begin by reframing every failure as invaluable data, as a precious source of information, rather than a personal rejection. When obstacles appear, as they inevitably will, immediately ask, with genuine curiosity, what profound lesson must I extract from this experience? Next, develop what psychologists aptly call an explanatory style, the internal narrative you meticulously construct following setbacks. Instead of globalizing failure, making it all-encompassing, isolate it specifically. Instead of seeing permanence, recognizing it as a forever condition, recognize its undeniable temporality. This cognitive restructuring transforms disappointment from a crushing weight into strategic intelligence, into actionable wisdom. Consider the remarkable Margaret Sullivan, who single-handedly revolutionized American healthcare systems despite being rejected by 17 consecutive hospital boards. When finally questioned about her extraordinary, almost miraculous persistence, Sullivan revealed she meticulously maintained a rejection journal, diligently documenting every single objection encountered. Each no, she profoundly explained, provided another crucial piece of information about resistance points requiring precise address. She clarified that these rejections were not personal insults, but rather invaluable market research. 2 decades later, her methodology had transformed administrative systems in over 40% of metropolitan hospitals nationwide. Ask yourself now, with unflinching honesty, are you currently allowing temporary setbacks, fleeting moments of difficulty, to define your permanent identity? Have you tragically confused normal, inevitable resistance with irrefutable evidence of impossibility? What breakthrough, what profound triumph awaits just beyond your current threshold for disappointment? When your persistence becomes unbreakable, unyielding, something truly fascinating occurs. People respond with either profound respect or palpable discomfort. Your unwavering refusal to accept conventional limitations, to surrender to the status quo, fundamentally challenges their own surrender points. Most individuals construct elaborate justifications for abandoning difficult pursuits, creating the comforting illusion that success was impossible, rather than simply demanding extraordinary persistence. Your continued advance, despite identical obstacles, relentlessly dismantles their protective narrative. Remember always that persistence doesn't mean blindly repeating failed approaches. Rather, it means maintaining unwavering commitment to your ultimate destination, to your grand vision, while continuously adjusting your route based on feedback, based on new insights. Edison's 10,000 unsuccessful attempts were not failure. No, they were essential steps, meticulously eliminating what wouldn't work. His mind grew stronger with each apparent setback, eventually developing a resilience that transcended normal human limitations. Will you commit to persisting through your next 10 rejections, without for a single moment surrendering your grand vision? Can you transform disappointment from emotional devastation into strategic intelligence? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that treats obstacles as nothing more than information, invaluable data points guiding necessary adjustments, rather than as signals to surrender. Now, let us delve into the profound power of harnessing the mastermind principle. Throughout history, something profound consistently separates individuals who achieve modest success from those who transform entire industries, nations, or artistic domains. It is their unparalleled ability to harness collective intelligence through strategic alliance. Consider the fundamental limitation within even the most brilliant human mind: perspective constraint. No single individual, regardless of their inherent genius, can perceive every possibility, identify every opportunity, or overcome every obstacle through isolated thinking. Those who recognize this immutable truth and strategically unite complementary intellects, they create exponential, rather than merely additive, result. This capacity to orchestrate mental synergy, this powerful collaboration, produces outcomes that genuinely terrify conventional thinkers. Because when minds unite in perfect harmony, bound by a common, compelling purpose, something almost metaphysical emerges, an intelligence far beyond the mere sum of individual contributions. Look carefully at any revolutionary breakthrough, any monumental innovation, and you will invariably discover the same recurring pattern. Rarely does true transformation emerge from solitary genius, from an isolated intellect, but rather through the creative combustion of diverse perspectives, uniquely focused on shared, overarching objective. Those who master this principle effectively multiply their mental capabilities, expanding their reach, while competitors remain constrained by individual limitation. Begin by conducting an honest, rigorous inventory of your intellectual and experiential strengths, alongside your corresponding weaknesses. Identify precisely where your thinking requires complementary perspective, where another viewpoint would add profound value. Next, deliberately seek out individuals whose cognitive strengths align with your perceived deficiencies, while simultaneously offering reciprocal value through your own unique expertise. But mere association, simply gathering in a room, proves insufficient. You must establish operational harmony through a shared, compelling purpose, mutual respect, and systematic, diligent collaboration. Schedule regular mastermind sessions with clearly defined objectives and structured discussion protocols. Rather than attempting isolated innovation, Westbrook meticulously assembled monthly symposiums, uniting meteorologists, soil scientists, equipment engineers, distribution specialists, and economic forecasters. Each participant viewed identical challenges through entirely different perceptual frameworks. He later profoundly explained that solutions emerged not from individual brilliance, but from the collision between diverse viewpoints. Within 5 short years, his collaborative methodology had miraculously increased national production yields by an astonishing 73% during the worst drought cycle in recorded history. Ask yourself now, with searching honesty, are you currently attempting complex achievements through isolated thinking, relying solely on your own intellect? Have you tragically mistaken independence for strength? Rather than recognizing interdependence as a multiplicative advantage, what breakthrough possibilities remain utterly invisible to you due to your perspective limitation? When you successfully harness mastermind dynamics, something truly remarkable, almost unnerving, happens. Conventional competitors become genuinely disturbed by your accelerated progress. They observe your organization solving problems with uncanny efficiency, with surprising speed, while they remain perpetually trapped within singular viewpoint constraint. Most individuals operate from ego protection, a fear of vulnerability that resists external input, interpreting collaboration as an admission of inadequacy rather than strategic amplification. Your unwavering willingness to synthesize diverse perspectives creates an operational velocity that appears almost supernatural to isolated thinkers. Seek individuals who combine intellectual excellence with a genuine, unselfish desire for mutual success. Avoid personality conflicts that generate friction, that create discord rather than creative spark. Establish clear operational guidelines, ensuring balanced contribution, respectful discourse, and systematic implementation of emergent insight. The mastermind, my friends, represents not casual association, but rather strategic alliance toward extraordinary achievement. Can you identify 3 individuals whose mental strengths would perfectly complement your limitation? Will you initiate mastermind formation with a clear, compelling purpose, a structured process, and a shared, mutual advantage? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that transcends individual limitation through strategic intellectual eye. Now, let us confront a universal truth, conquering fear through deliberate action. Something truly remarkable consistently distinguishes individuals who achieve profound greatness from those who merely contemplate it. It is their unique, transformative relationship with fear. Consider what truly separates legendary figures from ordinary individuals sharing identical circumstances. Is it the absence of fear? Absolutely not. Those who accomplish extraordinary feats experience identical emotional responses, the same physiological sensations as everyone else. Their distinguishing quality, their profound difference, lies in their behavioral response to fear, moving directly toward, rather than instinctively away from, what creates discomfort. This counterintuitive approach builds psychological immunity, an inner armor that appears almost superhuman to conventional observers, because fear represents nothing more than unmastered territory, psychological terrain your mind hasn't yet conquered through experience. Every capability you currently possess, every skill you command, began as an unfamiliar activity, generating discomfort. Those who systematically expand their comfort zones through deliberate discomfort, through intentional stretching, accelerate personal evolution, propelling themselves forward, while others remain perpetually confined within self-imposed limitation. When someone observes an individual who consistently moves toward, rather than instinctively away from, challenging situations, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely unnerves through its apparent fearlessness. So, how does one implement this transformative approach? You begin by meticulously identifying your current fear inventory. List those activities, situations, or conversations that consistently generate discomfort. Rank these from moderate to severe psychological resistance. Next, establish a progressive exposure protocol, beginning with manageable challenges, those you can reasonably overcome, while systematically advancing toward higher resistance activities. Commit to completing one fear-inducing action daily, understanding, with profound clarity, that the true psychological benefit emerges not from the outcome, but from the courageous action itself. Document each experience, meticulously noting the typical pattern: anticipatory anxiety, the fear before the act, almost invariably far exceeding the actual discomfort experienced during execution. Consider the remarkable Victoria Pitton, who transformed British telecommunications despite having once struggled with debilitating social anxiety. When questioned about her extraordinary rise from back-office analyst to industry pioneer, Pitton revealed her discomfort curriculum. deliberate weekly experiences designed specifically to expand psychological capability, she explained. Each Thursday afternoon for 5 years, I scheduled precisely what terrified me most. She later clarified to industry executives that this included public presentations, confrontational negotiations, and media interviews, systematically advancing through progressive challenge. This methodical, self-imposed challenge ultimately cultivated a leadership capacity that competitors found genuinely intimidating. Ask yourself now, with unflinching honesty, are you currently avoiding experiences essential for your development? Have you tragically mistaken temporary discomfort for genuine danger rather than recognizing fear as a profound growth indicator? What extraordinary capabilities remain dormant, unexpressed, behind your avoidance patterns when you consistently move toward, rather than instinctively away from, fear? Something truly fascinating occurs. The psychological resistance preceding action diminishes through repeated exposure. Each experience demonstrating survival despite discomfort reconditions your neurological threat detection system. Most individuals construct elaborate avoidance mechanisms, preserving temporary comfort while tragically sacrificing long-term capability. Your unwavering willingness to embrace short-term discomfort for long-term expansion creates accelerated evolution that conventional thinkers find genuinely unsettling. Remember always that courage never emerges from emotional absence, from a lack of fear. No, it is born from behavioral persistence, from action, despite emotional resistance. True psychological strength develops not from avoiding triggers, but from systematic desensitization through deliberate, purposeful exposure. Each fear-inducing experience successfully navigated becomes neurological evidence, indelibly etched in your brain, expanding your perception of capability. This accumulated evidence eventually transforms your fundamental identity from someone avoiding challenge to someone energized by it. Will you commit to identifying 3 specific fears currently limiting your potential? Can you establish a progressive exposure protocol, systematically confronting each limitation? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that interprets fear not as a warning to retreat, but rather as an invitation to advance, moving consistently toward, rather than away from, psychological resistance. Now, let us unveil the strategic power of silence within our constantly chattering world. Something truly remarkable consistently distinguishes those who command genuine respect from those merely seeking fleeting attention. It is their strategic relationship with silence. Consider deeply what truly separates individuals who genuinely influence others from those who simply make noise, a cacophony of empty words. Is it sheer eloquence, captivating charisma, or immense vocal volume? No, my friends, these are merely secondary characteristics. At its profound core stands the disciplined power of intentional silence, that sacred space between thoughts where true wisdom emerges and genuine strength reveals itself. Why, then, does this deliberate restraint generate such profound advantage? Because in a society addicted to constant expression, to ceaseless chatter, those who master selective silence develop extraordinary observational intelligence. While others frantically broadcast half-formed opinions, the strategically silent individual absorbs critical information, identifies subtle patterns, and speaks only when genuine, undeniable value can be added. This creates an unnerving presence, an aura of quiet authority, where words, when finally delivered, carry unmistakable weight, precisely because they emerge from careful consideration, from profound thought, rather than impulsive reaction. So, how does one cultivate this formidable mental discipline? You begin by implementing a fundamental, unbreakable rule. Never speak simply to fill silence. When conversation pauses, resist the pervasive societal programming demanding immediate sound. Instead, Become profoundly comfortable within that open space, recognizing it as an invaluable opportunity for deeper observation. Next, establish personal response protocols. Before speaking, mentally evaluate whether your contribution truly improves upon silence. Ask yourself, does this add genuine value? Have I fully considered alternative perspectives? What might I learn by listening longer? This disciplined filtering process transforms casual communication into strategic advantage. Consider the legendary Rajat Chandra Sekhar, who revolutionized international diplomacy through his renowned contemplative pause, while meticulously negotiating critical trade agreements between fiercely competing Asian nations. Chandra would frequently remain in profound silence for a full 45 seconds after opposing representatives finished speaking. This strategic void, this deliberate silence, created something remarkable. A colleague later revealed that adversaries, profoundly uncomfortable with the silence, would invariably continue speaking, unwittingly revealing critical information they had initially intended to withhold. This methodical restraint ultimately secured economic concessions that competitors had previously declared non-negotiable. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently diminishing your influence through impulsive expression? Have you tragically confused the quantity of words with the quality of impact? What strategic advantages, what profound insights await you when you release the compulsion to fill every conversational space? When your relationship with silence becomes strategic rather than uncomfortable, something truly fascinating occurs. Others begin unconsciously associating your words with uncommon significance. They instinctively recognize the deliberate consideration preceding your expression. Most individuals speak from reactive impulse, broadcasting thoughts the very moment they form, without allowing for sufficient maturation. Your intentional restraint, your deliberate silence, creates communication that emerges not from emotional reaction, but from a comprehensive perspective, generating a gravitas that conventional communicators find genuinely unsettling. Remember always that strategic silence does not mean permanent withdrawal, but rather selective, purposeful contribution. The goal isn't becoming uncommunicative. No, it is becoming extraordinarily intentional. Study carefully those rare individuals whose words carry unmistakable weight. You'll invariably discover minds that speak not from compulsion, but from carefully cultivated insight. Their profound restraint creates mental space where wisdom flourishes, while impulsivity withers. Will you commit to implementing strategic silence within your next 3 significant conversations? Can you resist the pervasive societal pressure demanding constant expression? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that speaks not from neurotic compulsion, but from strategic intention, delivering words weighted with profound substance, rather than merely filled with empty sound. Now, let us delve into the profound power of singular focus. Throughout human achievement, something consistently separates those who accomplish extraordinary results from those perpetually busy, yet producing little. It is their profound relationship with attention. Consider deeply what distinguishes individuals who transform industries, create revolutionary innovations, or master complex domains. Is it superior intelligence, more hours worked, or access to greater resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental, the unwavering capacity for sustained, uninterrupted focus directed towards singular objectives. This mental discipline creates momentum that scattered minds find absolutely mystifying, because attention represents the ultimate non-renewable resource. Where focus flows, results inevitably follow. Those who scatter mental energy across countless initiatives advance each minimally, while those channeling identical effort towards singular objectives create exponential progress through momentum and depth. When someone observes an individual whose attention remains utterly unshakable, impervious to endless distraction, It creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its sheer intensity. So, how does one develop this level of concentrated mental power? You begin by recognizing a fundamental truth. Multitasking represents not efficiency, but systematic ineffectiveness. Neurological research proves conclusively that attention switching destroys productivity while creating the insidious illusion of accomplishment. Implement time-blocking methodology. Dedicate uninterrupted periods exclusively to your most significant objective, with all communication devices completely disabled. Start with 30-minute focus blocks, gradually extending them to 90-minute deep work sessions. During these sacred periods, develop an almost religious intolerance for interruption. Treat your attention as sacred territory, requiring fierce protection. Consider the remarkable Eliza Thornton, who revolutionized American architectural design despite entering the field with minimal formal education. When questioned about her extraordinary rise from drafting assistant to industry pioneer, Thornton revealed her sacred hours methodology. For 30 years without exception, I protected the hours between 5,000 and 9,000 a.m. It was utterly inviolable, she explained. While competitors fragmented attention across meetings, correspondences, and interruptions, I channeled 4 hours of absolute concentration daily toward mastery. This accumulated deep work ultimately generated design innovations that established new standards across the industry. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently diluting your boundless potential through chronic attention fracturing? Have you tragically confused perpetual busyness with genuine productivity? What extraordinary development awaits you when you channel your scattered mental energy toward concentrated progress? When your capacity for sustained focus becomes exceptional, something truly remarkable happens. You accomplish in weeks what scattered minds require months to produce. This accelerated progress often appears almost supernatural to conventional observers. Most individuals bounce frantically between tasks, communications, and distractions, creating perpetual motion without meaningful advancement. Your disciplined concentration generates momentum that transforms difficult challenges into conquered territory through sheer, focused persistence. Remember always that attention management supersedes time management in productive significance. Protect your cognitive resources with the same unwavering vigilance you would guard your financial wealth. Recognize interruption not as an inevitable workplace reality, but as catastrophic productivity theft. Establish firm boundaries around your most valuable possession, your capacity for undivided attention directed towards significant objectives. This mental discipline ultimately distinguishes extraordinary producers from perpetually busy underperformers. Can you identify your single most significant objective deserving concentrated focus? Will you establish sacred time blocks with religious protection against interruption? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that directs sustained attention towards singular objectives while others fragment their potential across endless distraction. Now, let us unveil the art of strategic visualization. Something truly remarkable consistently distinguishes individuals who transform possibilities into realities from those who merely contemplate potential. It is their profound relationship with mental imagery. Consider deeply what separates those who consistently achieve ambitious objectives from equally talented individuals who routinely fall short. Is it greater effort, superior strategy, enhanced resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental, the disciplined practice of systematic visualization, so vivid, so compelling, it programs the subconscious mind for inevitable achievement. This mental conditioning creates a profound certainty that conventional thinking finds genuinely disturbing, because your subconscious operating system, that vast, powerful engine, makes no fundamental distinction between vividly imagined experience and physical reality. Those who harness this neurological phenomenon effectively program their internal navigation system towards specific objectives with extraordinary precision. When someone observes an individual who pursues ambitious goals with absolute certainty, as if already experiencing their future achievement, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its unwavering confidence. So, how does one implement this mental programming methodology? You begin by establishing daily visualization protocols. Dedicate a minimum of 20 minutes of uninterrupted mental rehearsal, conducted in a theta brainwave state, ideally upon waking or before sleep. During these profound sessions, construct a multi-sensory experience of your desired achievement with extraordinary detail. See not just visual components, but incorporate sound, physical sensation, emotional response, and environmental specifics. Most critically, visualize not from an external perspective, but through a first-person viewpoint, immersing yourself fully in the experience. Consider the remarkable Sébastien Renaud, who transformed French athletic competition despite physical characteristics experts deemed insufficient for championship performance. When questioned about his unprecedented rise, Renaud revealed his reality projection methodology. For 3 years before physical victory, he explained, "I experienced success through complete mental immersion twice daily, 15 minutes upon waking and 15 minutes before sleeping. Visualizing with such detail, my nervous system could not distinguish mental rehearsal from physical execution. This systematic conditioning ultimately produced performance capabilities that competitors found genuinely uncanny." Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently approaching objectives through purely intellectual planning, rather than profound neurological programming? Have you tragically confused conceptual understanding with subconscious conditioning? What extraordinary achievement awaits you when you align your entire nervous system towards specific outcomes through disciplined visualization? Your subconscious resources automatically organize toward visualized outcomes. Opportunities previously invisible suddenly appear with remarkable synchronicity. Most individuals operate from conscious planning alone, utilizing a mere fraction of their neurological capabilities. Your disciplined visualization harnesses the extraordinary pattern recognition and problem-solving capacity of your subconscious mind, creating an acceleration that conventional achievers find genuinely mysterious. Remember always that effective visualization requires emotional intensity alongside visual detail. The subconscious responds not to intellectual concepts, but to experiences infused with genuine feeling. Incorporate profound gratitude, exhilarating excitement, and absolute certainty within your mental imagery. Consistently rehearse not just the achievement itself, but the character traits, the decisions, and the focused execution required for its realization. This comprehensive conditioning ultimately transforms challenging pursuits into seemingly inevitable outcomes. Will you commit to establishing a systematic visualization protocol beginning tomorrow morning? Can you dedicate 20 minutes daily to programming your subconscious navigation system, the mind that terrifies through its strength? My friends, is precisely the mind that experiences future achievement with such vivid certainty that its manifestation becomes virtually inevitable. Now, let us unveil the power of strategic discomfort. Throughout history, something profound consistently separates individuals who achieve continuous growth from those reaching early plateaus. It is their profound relationship with discomfort. Consider deeply what distinguishes those who maintain accelerating development across decades from equally talented individuals who peak prematurely. Is it greater intelligence, superior methodology, enhanced opportunity? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental, the deliberate pursuit of strategic discomfort as a catalyst for perpetual evolution. This counterintuitive approach creates a developmental velocity that conventional achievers find genuinely alarming. Because profound development occurs exclusively at the boundary between capability and challenge, those who deliberately position themselves within this uncomfortable intersection continuously expand their performance capacity, while those prioritizing comfort experience inevitable stagnation. When someone observes an individual who systematically seeks, rather than avoids, difficulty, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its relentless evolutionary momentum. So, how does one implement this growth acceleration framework? You begin by conducting an honest assessment of your current comfort inventory, activities, responsibilities, and challenges you navigate without significant strain. Next, establish a deliberate discomfort protocol, regularly selecting experiences calibrated precisely beyond your current capability. The optimal growth zone creates discomfort sufficient to demand adaptation without triggering counterproductive anxiety. Implement the fundamental rule. If you're not experiencing regular moments of being genuinely stretched beyond comfortable capability, you have ceased meaningful development. Consider the remarkable Margaret Donaldson, who transformed international journalism despite beginning her career with a crippling speech impediment. When questioned about her extraordinary evolution from hesitant reporter to commanding presence, Donaldson revealed her calibrated challenge system. Each Monday morning, my editor received specific requests for assignments beyond my current capabilities. She explained, not marginally difficult, but genuinely uncomfortable, requiring skills not yet developed, but within potential reach. This methodical, self-imposed challenge ultimately cultivated a communication mastery that industry veterans found genuinely uncanny. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently prioritizing comfortable competence over uncomfortable growth? Have you tragically confused a performance plateau with achievement, rather than recognizing it as a developmental warning? What extraordinary capabilities remain dormant, unexpressed, behind your avoidance of strategic discomfort? When your relationship with challenge becomes deliberately proactive, rather than instinctively avoidant, something truly remarkable happens. Your developmental velocity accelerates beyond conventional trajectories. This creates performance evolution that appears almost supernatural to comfort-oriented observers. Most individuals instinctively organize their professional and personal lives around existing capabilities, unconsciously protecting themselves from growth-triggering discomfort. Your deliberate pursuit of calibrated challenge creates continuous adaptation that transforms potential into actualized capability through systematic stress recovery cycles. Remember always that strategic discomfort differs fundamentally from masochistic struggle. The objective isn't difficulty itself, but rather carefully calibrated challenge, triggering specific adaptations aligned with intentional development. Study carefully those rare individuals who maintain extraordinary growth across decades, rather than mere years. You'll invariably discover minds that deliberately select environments and responsibilities precisely engineered to demand their continuous evolution. Will you commit to identifying 3 specific comfort zones currently limiting your development? Can you establish strategic discomfort protocols, systematically confronting each limitation? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that seeks rather than avoids challenge, recognizing discomfort not as a warning to retreat, but rather as an essential catalyst for extraordinary development. Now, let us delve into the alchemy of extreme responsibility. Something profound consistently distinguishes individuals who transform circumstances from those perpetually shaped by them. It is their profound relationship with responsibility. Consider deeply what separates those who create exceptional results regardless of conditions from equally talented individuals perpetually explaining why success proves currently impossible. Is it superior capability, favorable circumstances, or enhanced resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental: their capacity to assume total responsibility for outcomes, regardless of external variables. This psychological ownership creates a problem-solving intensity that excuse-makers find genuinely disturbing. Why, then, does this responsibility-claiming approach generate such profound advantage? Because your sphere of influence expands in direct proportion to the responsibility you willingly assume, far beyond reasonable expectation. Those who attribute outcomes to external factors position themselves as helpless objects, merely affected by circumstances, while those claiming total responsibility transform themselves into causative agents, actively affecting their environment, regardless of formal authority. When someone observes an individual who consistently refuses the victim position, regardless of legitimate external challenges, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuine lifts through its boundless resourcefulness. So, how does one develop this level of psychological ownership? You begin by implementing a fundamental, unbreakable rule. Eliminate the word because from your explanatory vocabulary when discussing undesired outcomes. This linguistic pattern interruption forces cognitive restructuring away from justification toward resolution. Next, adopt the extreme responsibility framework. When facing any challenge, immediately ask, how have I created this situation? This question, my friends, bypasses unproductive blame orientation, channeling mental energy directly towards solution development rather than justification construction. Consider Harrison Montgomery, who transformed American manufacturing despite inheriting operations during unprecedented material shortages and labor disputes. When questioned about his extraordinary results amidst catastrophic industry conditions, Montgomery revealed his absolute ownership methodology. While competitors held daily meetings documenting why production targets were impossible, we established a single operating principle. Assume complete responsibility regardless of external validity, he explained. This forced innovative approach is invisible to excuse-oriented organizations. This responsibility-claiming approach ultimately generated manufacturing breakthroughs that competitors found genuinely mystifying. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently diminishing your potential through elaborate justification construction? Have you tragically confused explanation with achievement? What extraordinary solutions remain undiscovered behind your attributional barriers? When your relationship with responsibility becomes total rather than conditional, something truly fascinating occurs. Your creative problem-solving capacity expands beyond conventional boundaries. This generates solutions invisible to excuse makers through the sheer force of ownership-driven necessity. Most individuals instinctively protect their self-image through responsibility deflection, constructing increasingly sophisticated justifications for underperformance. Your absolute ownership forces innovative thinking precisely because it eliminates the psychological escape hatch of blame, creating a solution orientation. Remember always that extreme responsibility differs fundamentally from self-flagellation. The objective isn't punitive self-criticism, but rather strategic positioning for maximum effectiveness. By assuming total ownership, you transform yourself from a helpless reactor into an empowered creator. This psychological stance ultimately distinguishes extraordinary performers from talented underachievers across every domain of human endeavor. Will you commit to eliminating excuses from your behavioral repertoire for the next 7 days? Can you implement the extreme responsibility framework regardless of circumstances? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that assumes total responsibility for any obstacle, thereby gaining total control over its resolution. Now, let us unveil the profound wisdom of delayed gratification. Throughout human achievement, something consistent separates individuals who reach extraordinary heights from those remaining perpetually average. It is their profound relationship with time preference. Consider deeply what distinguishes those who accumulate exceptional results across decades from equally talented individuals who produce merely adequate outcomes. Is it superior intelligence, enhanced opportunity, or greater resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental, the unwavering capacity for systematic sacrifice of immediate pleasure for greater future returns. This behavioral discipline creates compound results that present-oriented thinkers find genuinely baffling. Why, then, does this deferred gratification approach generate such extraordinary advantage? Because life consistently rewards those capable of exchanging immediate satisfaction for exponentially greater future benefit. Those prioritizing present comfort achieve linear progress at best, while those accepting temporary discomfort for strategic reasons often experience geometric growth curves through compounding effects. When someone observes an individual who consistently chooses difficult short-term sacrifice over available pleasure, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its seemingly superhuman self-regulation. So, how does one develop this future-oriented discipline? You begin by examining your current gratification response patterns, those areas where immediate comfort consistently overrides superior long-term outcomes. Next, implement systematic interruption between impulse and action when facing any significant decision. Impose a mandatory consideration period, scaling with the importance of the decision. During this interval, conduct disciplined future impact analysis, comparing immediate versus delayed consequences across 1 year, 5-year, and 10-year horizons. Consider the remarkable Masako Yamamoto, who transformed Japanese technological development despite beginning with resources investors deemed insufficient for meaningful progress. When questioned about her extraordinary ascent, Yamamoto revealed her sequential satisfaction methodology. While competitors channeled initial capital toward visible manifestations of success, impressive facilities, extensive staffing, public relations, we implemented a 5-year reinvestment mandate, she explained. Every available resource was directed toward fundamental research rather than immediate validation. This deferred gratification approach ultimately generated technological breakthroughs that industry experts considered impossible, given her initial capitalization. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently sacrificing superior long-term outcomes for immediate psychological comfort? Have you tragically confused temporary satisfaction with actual achievement? What extraordinary development awaits you through strategic sacrifice of present pleasure? When your capacity for delayed gratification becomes exceptional, something truly remarkable happens. You accomplish what others consider impossible through the seemingly magical power of compound returns. This creates results that appear mystifying to present-oriented observers. Most individuals organize their choices around immediate emotional payoff, surrendering extraordinary future outcomes for modest present comfort. Your future-oriented decision framework generates compounding advantages in knowledge, resource accumulation, and capability development that collectively produce exponential rather than linear advancement. Remember always that effective delayed gratification requires not rigid self-denial, but rather strategic sacrifice directed towards specific future objectives. Study carefully those individuals who maintain decades-spanning development trajectories. You'll invariably discover minds capable of experiencing genuine satisfaction from progress itself, rather than requiring immediate consumption or validation. This capacity ultimately distinguishes extraordinary achievers from talented underperformers across every domain of significant accomplishment. Will you commit to identifying 3 specific areas where present orientation currently limits your potential? Can you establish a deferred gratification protocol, systematically redirecting immediate impulses towards superior future outcomes? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that sacrifices present comfort for future capability, choosing meaningful progress over temporary pleasure regardless of immediate availability. Now, let us unveil the power of deliberate conviction. Something truly remarkable consistently distinguishes individuals who transform industries, movements, and societies from those generating merely incremental improvement. It is their profound relationship with certainty. Consider deeply what separates revolutionary figures from equally talented individuals producing modest advancement. Is it superior intellect, greater opportunity, or enhanced resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental, the unwavering capacity for absolute conviction, maintained amid overwhelming opposition. This unshakable certainty creates an influence that conventional thinkers find genuinely unsettling, because human psychology responds fundamentally to certainty, not merely to intellectual persuasion. Those who maintain unwavering conviction amidst opposition naturally attract followers through a psychological magnetism that tentative thinkers cannot comprehend. When someone observes an individual whose certainty remains utterly unshakable, despite contrary evidence, mockery, or isolation, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its sheer immovability. So, how does one develop this level of psychological certainty? You begin by recognizing a fundamental distinction between conviction and mere opinion. Opinions emerge from casual consideration, while conviction develops through systematic, comprehensive analysis culminating in absolute certainty. Implement conviction-building methodology when adopting any significant position. Conduct exhaustive counter-argument exploration, deliberately attempting to disprove your initial conclusion. Only after surviving this rigorous falsification process should belief transform into unshakable conviction. This disciplined approach creates certainty founded upon comprehensive understanding rather than psychological comfort. Consider the revolutionary Winston Harrington, who transformed British industrial safety despite universal opposition from manufacturing executives. When questioned about his extraordinary persistence amidst overwhelming resistance, Harrington revealed his principled certainty framework. Before advocating any position, he explained, "I systematically documented every logical counter-argument, addressing each exhaustively." This comprehensive preparation created unshakable conviction impossible to destabilize through standard opposition. This methodical certainty ultimately transformed national safety standards despite initial rejection by every major manufacturing association. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently confusing tentative opinion with genuine conviction? Have you tragically mistaken preference for certainty? What extraordinary influence awaits you when your positions emerge not from casual consideration, but from comprehensive analysis resulting in absolute conviction. When your psychological certainty becomes genuinely unshakable, something truly fascinating occurs. Others begin questioning their opposition rather than your position. This creates persuasive leverage impossible through mere intellectual argumentation. Most individuals hold positions with psychological tentativeness, unconsciously communicating uncertainty through subtle behavioral and linguistic patterns. Your absolute conviction creates a presence that automatically commands attention through sheer psychological weight, regardless of formal authority or credentials. Remember always that effective conviction differs fundamentally from stubborn close-mindedness. The objective isn't rigid adherence to an initial conclusion, but rather comprehensive understanding, so thorough it produces natural certainty. Study carefully those rare individuals who transform entire domains through sheer force of conviction. You'll invariably discover minds that reached certainty not through casual opinion formation, but through systematic analysis, so thorough it eliminated all meaningful doubt. Will you commit to transforming one significant opinion into genuine conviction through comprehensive counter-argument exploration? Can you develop certainty so absolute it remains unmoved by opposition, mockery, or temporary isolation? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that stands immovable through storms of opposition, maintaining conviction, not from psychological rigidity, but from understanding so complete it renders doubt fundamentally impossible. Now, let us unveil the philosophy of ruthless execution. Throughout human achievement, something profound consistently separates visionaries who transform ideas into reality from equally brilliant individuals whose concepts remain perpetually unrealized. It is their unwavering relationship with implementation. Consider deeply what distinguishes revolutionary figures whose ideas reshape industries from those generating equally innovative concepts that never materialize. Is it superior creativity, more compelling vision, or greater intellectual capacity? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental, the disciplined commitment to flawless execution, regardless of circumstance. This implementation focus creates results that dreamers find genuinely bewildering. Why, then, does this execution-centered approach generate such extraordinary advantage? Because the marketplace rewards implementation far above ideation. Those who execute imperfectly but consistently outperform those conceptualizing perfectly but implementing sporadically by exponential margins. Ideas without implementation remain perpetually worthless, while imperfect execution creates tangible value capable of continuous refinement. When someone observes an individual who transforms concepts into reality with machine-like reliability, regardless of complexity, resistance, or resource constraints, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its relentless productivity. You begin by establishing a ruthless prioritization framework, analyzing every proposed initiative through a single criterion filter. What specific, measurable result will this action produce? Next, implement systematic accountability architecture, transforming vague aspirations into precisely defined deliverables with non-negotiable deadlines and explicit success metrics. Most critically, develop an intolerance for partial completion. Establish a personal standard where tasks reach absolute completion, rather than the perpetual almost finished status that plagues conventional achievers. Consider the transformative Isabella Rothschild, who revolutionized European healthcare delivery despite entering the field with minimal formal credentials. When questioned about her meteoric rise from administrative assistant to industry innovator, Rothschild revealed her execution quotient methodology. While competitors debated theoretical improvements during endless committee meetings, we implemented simplified solutions within 72 hours of conception, she explained. Imperfect execution improved through iteration consistently outperformed perfect planning never implemented. This relentless implementation focus ultimately created operational breakthroughs that industry veterans considered conceptually impossible. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently mistaking planning for productivity? Have you tragically confused intellectual understanding with actual achievement? What extraordinary results await you when your implementation velocity matches your conceptual capability? You accomplish in months what conventional operators require years to produce. This creates an output that appears almost supernatural to planning-oriented observers. Most individuals invest disproportionate energy in conceptualization, research, and preparation, while perpetually delaying implementation through psychological resistance disguised as prudence. Your ruthless execution focus generates tangible results that transform theoretical possibilities into demonstrated realities through sheer implementation force. Remember always that effective execution requires not frantic activity, but rather strategic implementation of high-leverage actions directly connected to desired outcomes. Study carefully those rare individuals who transform industries through implementation mastery. You'll invariably discover minds that combine visionary thinking with relentless execution discipline, recognizing that unrealized potential represents the most tragic form of failure, regardless of conceptual brilliance. Will you commit to transforming one significant concept currently confined to intellectual contemplation into implemented reality within the next 30 days? Can you develop execution discipline so reliable it becomes a fundamental element of your professional identity? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that transforms vision into reality with ruthless consistency, creating tangible results while others remain perpetually trapped in endless preparation. Now, let us embrace the profound principle of perpetual learning. Throughout human achievement, something remarkable consistently distinguishes individuals who maintain accelerating growth across decades from those reaching premature plateaus. It is their profound relationship with knowledge acquisition. consider deeply what separates revolutionary figures who transform entire domains from those demonstrating impressive but ultimately limited mastery. Is it superior intelligence, enhanced opportunity, or greater initial education? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental: their systematic commitment to aggressive, continuous learning, regardless of achieved status or accumulated success. This relentless knowledge pursuit creates a developmental momentum that conventional achievers find genuinely mystifying. Because knowledge compounds through interconnection, creating exponential rather than linear returns when systematically acquired, those who maintain aggressive learning velocity continuously expand both their capability ceiling and their implementation efficiency, while those resting on existing knowledge experience inevitable obsolescence through environmental evolution. When someone observes an individual who pursues knowledge with undiminished intensity despite recognized expertise or established success, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its perpetual developmental momentum. So, how does one implement this accelerated learning methodology? You begin by establishing a systematic knowledge acquisition architecture, a minimum of 2 hours daily devoted exclusively to deliberate learning, regardless of schedule demands or professional obligation. Next, implement strategic knowledge diversification, deliberately exploring adjacent domains, creating intellectual cross-pollination rather than merely deepening existing expertise. Most critically, develop an acute awareness of knowledge obsolescence, regularly auditing current understanding for outdated frameworks requiring replacement rather than mere modification. Consider the remarkable Richard Pendleton, who transformed American industrial engineering despite beginning with educational credentials competitors considered wholly insufficient. When questioned about his extraordinary ascent from factory technician to industry authority, Pendleton revealed his perpetual apprenticeship methodology. While recognized experts rested on established knowledge, I maintained a learning regimen identical to my earliest developmental stage, he explained. 5 hours daily dedicated to knowledge acquisition, half within my specialty, the remainder deliberately exploring seemingly unrelated domains. This unrelenting learning discipline ultimately generated innovative approaches that industry veterans considered theoretically impossible, given established principles. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently confusing past education with ongoing development? Have you tragically mistaken current expertise for terminal knowledge? What extraordinary capabilities await you through systematic pursuit of knowledge diversification and expansion? You maintain a developmental trajectory while peers experience inevitable plateaus through knowledge complacency. This creates continuously expanding capability that appears almost supernatural to status-satisfied observers. Most individuals dramatically reduce learning intensity upon reaching professional competence, unconsciously accepting knowledge limitation as a natural developmental ceiling. Your perpetual learning discipline generates compounding intellectual advantages that collectively produce exponential rather than incremental capability expansion. Remember always that effective learning requires not passive consumption, but rather strategic acquisition, directly applicable to specific developmental objectives. Study carefully those rare individuals who maintain extraordinary growth across decades, rather than mere years. You'll invariably discover minds that combine achieved mastery with undiminished learning intensity, recognizing that knowledge satisfaction represents the most dangerous form of professional complacency, regardless of current capability. Will you commit to establishing a non-negotiable daily learning protocol minimally matching your earliest developmental intensity? Can you maintain an apprenticeship mindset regardless of accumulated expertise or professional recognition? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that pursues knowledge with undiminished intensity throughout its entire development, creating perpetual growth while others accept premature limitation through learning satisfaction. Now, let us unveil the alchemy of emotional self-mastery. Throughout history, something profound consistently separates individuals who maintain extraordinary performance regardless of circumstance from equally talented individuals whose effectiveness fluctuates dramatically. it is their profound relationship with emotional states. Consider deeply what distinguishes revolutionary figures who produce consistent excellence amidst chaos, opposition, and uncertainty from those demonstrating brilliant but inconsistent capability. Is it superior intelligence, enhanced methodology, or greater resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental: their unwavering capacity for complete emotional self-regulation, regardless of external triggers or internal impulses. This psychological sovereignty creates a performance stability that reactive individuals find genuinely unsettling. Why, then, does this emotional mastery approach generate such extraordinary advantage? Because effectiveness correlates directly with emotional state. Regardless of intellectual capability or technical skill, those maintaining emotional sovereignty consistently access their full cognitive resources, while emotionally reactive individuals experience perpetual performance fluctuation through state-dependent capability. When someone observes an individual who maintains complete composure amidst circumstances triggering dramatic emotional destabilization in others, it creates a presence, an aura that genuinely intimidates through its unnatural stability. So, how does one develop this level of emotional self-mastery? You begin by implementing a systematic trigger identification protocol, documenting specific situations that consistently produce unproductive emotional responses. Next, develop a strategic pre-greeting methodology, mentally rehearsing optimal responses before entering potentially destabilizing scenarios, creating predetermined behavioral pathways, bypassing automatic reactivity. Most critically, establish physiological intervention discipline, recognizing that emotion manifests physically before psychologically, using respiratory control, muscular adjustment, and neurological pattern interruption to prevent emotional cascades before cognitive awareness. Consider the remarkable Victoria Wellington, who revolutionized international diplomacy despite navigating geopolitical conflicts experts considered emotionally unmanageable. When questioned about her extraordinary effectiveness amidst extraordinary pressure, Wellington revealed her emotional sovereignty methodology. While counterparts permitted external circumstances to determine internal states, I implemented absolute emotional self-determination, she explained. Regardless of provocation, deliberate respiratory control and cognitive reframing maintained optimal neurochemical balance. This disciplined self-regulation ultimately enabled diplomatic breakthroughs that observers considered psychologically impossible given surrounding hostility. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently permitting external triggers to determine your internal states? Have you tragically confused emotional authenticity with uncontrolled reactivity? What extraordinary effectiveness awaits you through systematic emotional self-regulation? You maintain peak cognitive function precisely when others experience dramatic capability reduction through emotional hijacking. This creates performance stability that appears almost inhuman to reactive observers. Most individuals unconsciously surrender psychological sovereignty through automatic emotional responses to external triggers, experiencing perpetual effectiveness fluctuation through state-dependent capability. Your emotional self-determination generates consistent access to your complete cognitive resources, regardless of circumstance, creating extraordinary advantage, particularly within challenging environments. Remember always that effective emotional mastery requires not suppression, but rather strategic regulation aligned with optimal functionality. Study carefully those rare individuals who maintain exceptional performance across dramatically fluctuating circumstances. You'll invariably discover minds that combine healthy emotional awareness with disciplined regulation. Recognizing that psychological sovereignty represents a fundamental prerequisite for consistent excellence, regardless of domain. Will you commit to developing complete emotional self-determination within 3 specific triggering contexts currently producing unproductive reactivity? Can you establish physiological intervention protocols interrupting emotional cascades before psychological awareness? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that determines its emotional states rather than being determined by them, maintaining psychological sovereignty while others remain perpetually controlled by external circumstance. Throughout human achievement, something profound consistently separates individuals who consistently identify optimal pathways from those repeatedly trapped within conventional approaches. It is their profound relationship with strategic cognition. Consider deeply what distinguishes revolutionary figures who transform challenges into unprecedented opportunities from equally intelligent individuals who remain confined within established paradigms. Is it superior intelligence, greater creativity, or enhanced information access? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental: their systematic cultivation of multi-level strategic thinking, transcending conventional analysis. This cognitive architecture creates solution pathways that linear thinkers find genuinely mystifying. Why, then, does this strategic thinking approach generate such extraordinary advantage? Because conventional cognition operates predominantly through association and extrapolation, creating inherently limited solution sets constrained by existing frameworks. Those who systematically develop strategic thinking capacity consistently identify possibilities invisible to linear analysis through multidimensional pattern recognition and conceptual recombination. When someone observes an individual who repeatedly transforms seemingly intractable problems into elegantly resolvable scenarios, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its almost supernatural problem-solving velocity. So, how does one develop this strategic thinking capability? You begin by implementing a systematic perspective-shifting protocol, analyzing every significant challenge through a minimum of 5 distinct conceptual frameworks, rather than defaulting to a habitual approach. Next, establish a deliberate assumption testing methodology, identifying foundational premises underlying conventional analysis, systematically questioning each through contrary evidence exploration. Most critically, develop scenario projection discipline, mentally simulating multiple potential decision pathways through second, third, and fourth order consequence mapping, rather than merely evaluating an immediate outcome. Consider the remarkable Hideyoshi Nakamura, who revolutionized Japanese industrial manufacturing despite resource constraints experts considered categorically prohibitive. When questioned about his extraordinary breakthrough amidst seemingly impossible limitations, Nakamura revealed his strategic architecture methodology. While competitors analyzed challenges through a traditional problem-solution framework, we implemented systematic perspective rotation, he explained, examining identical circumstances through minimum 7 distinct conceptual models until limitation transformed into exploitable advantage. This disciplined cognitive approach ultimately generated manufacturing innovations that industry veterans considered logically impossible, given existing constraints. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently confining your analysis within conventional frameworks? Have you tragically mistaken habitual approaches for optimal methodology? What extraordinary solutions await you through systematic cultivation of multi-level strategic thinking? When your strategic cognition becomes exceptional, something truly fascinating occurs. You consistently identify high-leverage opportunities invisible to conventional analysis through perceptual frameworks that transcend standard evaluation. This creates a solution velocity that appears almost supernatural to linear thinkers. Most individuals unconsciously confine problem-solving within established paradigms, experiencing perpetual limitation through unexamined analytical constraints. Your strategic thinking discipline generates solution pathways that transform seemingly intractable challenges into elegantly resolvable scenarios through perspective diversity and assumption questioning. Remember always that effective strategic thinking requires not merely intelligence, but rather disciplined methodology, systematically transcending conventional analysis. Study carefully those rare individuals who transform entire domains through unprecedented solutions. You'll invariably discover minds that combine analytical rigor with perspective flexibility, recognizing that paradigmatic constraints represent the most significant limitation to breakthrough thinking, regardless of intellectual capacity. Will you commit to analyzing one significant current challenge through a minimum of 5 distinct conceptual frameworks, rather than defaulting to a habitual approach? Can you develop perspective-shifting discipline as a fundamental element of your cognitive architecture? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that transcends conventional analysis through systematic perspective diversity, transforming limitations into advantages through strategic cognition, while others remain confined within established paradigms. Consider deeply what consistently distinguishes revolutionary figures who transform limitations into advantages from those repeatedly citing external factors for underperformance. Is it superior capability, enhanced opportunity, or greater resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental: their unflinching commitment to radical self-accountability, transcending conventional responsibility. This ownership mentality creates a problem-solving intensity that excuse-makers find genuinely disturbing. Why, then, does this accountability-centered approach generate such extraordinary advantage? Because your sphere of influence expands in direct proportion to the responsibility you willingly assume, far beyond reasonable expectation. Those who accept accountability exclusively within formal obligation remain perpetually limited by circumstance, while those embracing radical responsibility transform themselves into causative agents, actively affecting their environment, regardless of formal authority. When someone observes an individual who assumes complete ownership for outcomes far exceeding their official responsibility, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its boundless resourcefulness. So, how does one develop this level of ownership mentality? You begin by implementing a systematic excuse elimination protocol. Whenever facing underperformance, immediately redirect analysis from external justification toward personal contribution, regardless of circumstance. Next, establish an ownership expansion methodology for expertise development. Most critically, develop a solution orientation reflex, reflexively replacing problem analysis by instantly transitioning from "why this happened" to "how do I resolve this," without an intermediate justification phase. Consider the remarkable Harrison Montgomery, who transformed American manufacturing despite inheriting operations during unprecedented material shortages and labor disputes. When questioned about his extraordinary results amidst catastrophic industry conditions, Montgomery revealed his absolute ownership methodology. While competitors held daily meetings documenting why production targets were impossible, we established a single operating principle: assume complete responsibility regardless of external validity, he explained. This forced innovative approach is invisible to excuse-oriented organizations. This responsibility-claiming approach ultimately generated manufacturing breakthroughs that competitors found genuinely mystifying. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently diminishing your potential through elaborate justification construction? Have you tragically confused explanation with achievement? What extraordinary solutions remain undiscovered behind your attributional barriers? When your relationship with responsibility becomes total, rather than conditional, something truly fascinating occurs. Your creative problem-solving capacity expands beyond conventional boundaries. This generates solutions invisible to excuse-makers through the sheer force of ownership-driven necessity. Most individuals instinctively protect their self-image through responsibility deflection, constructing increasingly sophisticated justifications for underperformance. Your absolute ownership forces innovative thinking, precisely because it eliminates the psychological escape hatch of blame, creating a solution orientation. Remember always that effective accountability requires not self-flagellation, but rather strategic positioning for maximum effectiveness. By assuming total ownership, you transform yourself from the helpless reactor into an empowered creator. This psychological stance ultimately distinguishes extraordinary performers from talented underachievers across every domain of human endeavor. Will you commit to eliminating excuse orientation from your behavioral repertoire for the next 14 days? Can you identify 3 specific areas where expanded accountability would create disproportionate impact, despite formal authority limitation? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that assumes ownership beyond reasonable expectation, creating extraordinary results where excuse makers find only insurmountable obstacles. Now, let us clarify the alchemy of definite advantage. Something profound consistently separates revolutionary figures who transform entire domains from those generating commendable but ultimately forgettable contributions. It is their absolute clarity regarding definite purpose, transcending vague aspiration. This purpose specificity creates achievement velocity that wandering minds find genuinely mystifying. Why, then, does this purpose-centered approach generate such extraordinary advantage? Because mental energy operates under conservation principles. When concentrated toward a singular objective, it generates exponential impact. While diffused across multiple directions, it produces negligible movement in any. Those who establish definite purpose channel their complete psychic energy towards specific achievement, while those maintaining vague aspirations dissipate identical resources across scattered objectives. When someone observes an individual whose entire existence appears organized around a singular, definite purpose, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its laser-light concentration. So, how does one develop this purpose crystallization? You begin by conducting a systematic desire inventory, documenting every significant aspiration currently occupying mental bandwidth, without initial qualification or judgment. Next, implement ruthless priority distillation, subjecting each desire to an elimination tournament structured around a single criterion, which accomplishment would render all others unnecessary or automatically achieved. Continue this systematic elimination until identifying a singular achievement representing the core purpose beneath all peripheral desires. Most critically, develop absolute clarity regarding the specific outcome representing purpose fulfillment, transforming vague aspiration into a precisely defined achievement with unmistakable completion criteria. Consider the remarkable Thomas Wellington, who revolutionized international economic development despite beginning with resources experts considered categorically insufficient. When questioned about his extraordinary impact amidst overwhelming limitation, Wellington revealed his definite purpose methodology. While contemporaries pursued multiple worthy objectives simultaneously, I implemented an absolute concentration principle, identifying a singular achievement rendering all others either unnecessary or automatically accomplished, he explained. This purpose crystallization created resource multiplication invisible to diffused attention. This purpose specificity ultimately generated developmental breakthroughs that global authorities considered mathematically impossible, given available resources. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently diffusing your mental energy across multiple simultaneous aspirations? Have you tragically confused admirable activity with optimal concentration? What extraordinary achievement awaits you through systematic distillation toward a definite purpose? You accomplish singular objectives with a velocity that appears almost supernatural to diffused attention observers. This creates achievement acceleration beyond conventional capability. Through the sheer force of concentrated mental energy, most individuals unconsciously scatter their finite resources across numerous worthy aspirations, experiencing perpetual limitation through attention dilution. Your definite purpose creates extraordinary leverage by focusing your complete psychic energy towards specific achievement, rather than diffusing identical resources across scattered objectives. Remember always that effective purpose requires not merely enthusiasm, but rather ruthless specificity regarding the desired achievement. Study carefully those rare individuals who transform entire domains through singular contribution. You'll invariably discover minds that combine broad awareness with narrow execution, recognizing that purpose diffusion represents the most significant limitation to extraordinary achievement, regardless of raw capability. Will you commit to conducting comprehensive purpose distillation, identifying a singular achievement representing your core aspiration beneath all peripheral desires? Can you develop absolute clarity regarding the specific outcome representing definite purpose fulfillment? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that channels complete mental energy towards a singular definite purpose, creating extraordinary achievement velocity while others remain perpetually limited through attention diffusion. Now, let us unveil the very science of decision-making. Throughout human accomplishment, something profound consistently separates individuals who transform potential into reality from equally capable individuals perpetually trapped in analysis. It is their profound relationship with decision-making. Consider deeply what distinguishes revolutionary figures who create extraordinary impact from those generating impressive but ultimately unrealized potential. Is it superior intelligence, enhanced opportunity, or greater resources? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental: their capacity for rapid, high-quality decision-making, transcending conventional deliberation. This decision velocity creates implementation momentum that perfectionists find genuinely alarming. Because execution speed correlates directly with competitive advantage across virtually every domain of significance, those who make high-quality decisions rapidly consistently outperform those making marginally better decisions slowly, by orders of magnitude. Ideas without implementation remain perpetually worthless, while imperfect execution creates tangible value capable of continuous refinement. When someone observes an individual who transitions from analysis to action with seemingly supernatural speed, without corresponding quality reduction, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its implementation velocity. So, how does one develop this decision-making mastery? You begin by implementing systematic decision classification, categorizing choices through reversibility analysis rather than traditional importance evaluation. Decisions with minimal reversal cost require minimal deliberation, while irreversible decisions warrant proportional consideration. Next, establish adequate information thresholds, predetermining specifically what data qualifies as sufficient for a decision, rather than allowing perpetual research expansion. Consider the remarkable Eliza Blackwell, who transformed international technological development despite unprecedented volatility. When questioned about her extraordinary implementation velocity amidst unprecedented volatility, Blackwell revealed her decision acceleration methodology. While competitors remained trapped in perpetual analysis, seeking perfect clarity, we implemented a two-tiered decision architecture, she explained. Reversible choices were made instantly upon minimal viable information. Irreversible decisions were allocated precisely calibrated deliberation. This decisional framework created implementation velocity invisible to perfectionist organizations. This decision-making discipline ultimately generated technological breakthroughs that industry veterans considered developmentally impossible, given time-frame constraints. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently confusing analysis with progress? Have you tragically mistaken perfect decisions for optimal outcomes? What extraordinary implementation awaits you through systematic acceleration of decision velocity? When your decision-making becomes exceptionally efficient, something truly remarkable happens. You transform potential into reality with implementation speed that appears almost supernatural to deliberation-oriented observers. This creates achievement velocity beyond conventional capability through the elimination of decisional friction. Most individuals unconsciously extend analysis beyond optimal information thresholds, experiencing perpetual limitation through implementation delay. Your decision discipline creates extraordinary leverage by compressing the gap between conceptualization and execution. recognizing that marginal quality improvement rarely justifies exponential implementation. Remember always that effective decision-making requires not recklessness, but rather strategic classification based on reversibility, rather than merely perceived importance. Study carefully those rare individuals who transform industries through implementation velocity. You'll invariably discover minds that combine analytical rigor with decisional efficiency. Recognizing that perpetual deliberation represents one of the most significant limitations to extraordinary achievement, regardless of conceptual brilliance, will you commit to implementing systematic decision classification based on reversibility, rather than traditional importance evaluation? Can you establish adequate information thresholds, predetermining what data qualifies as sufficient for various decision categories? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that transitions from analysis to action with exceptional velocity, creating extraordinary implementation momentum, while others remain perpetually trapped in deliberation. Now, let us embrace the profound power of strategic optimism. Consider deeply what consistently distinguishes revolutionary figures who transform limitations into unprecedented opportunities from those remaining perpetually restricted by current realities. Is it superior intelligence, enhanced resources, or greater opportunity? While these factors contribute, beneath them lies something more fundamental: their disciplined cultivation of strategic optimism transcending conventional positivity. This future creation mentality generates possibility awareness that pessimistic realists find genuinely incomprehensible. Why, then, does this optimism-centered approach generate such extraordinary advantage? Because perception fundamentally precedes creation. Possibilities must be envisioned before they can be realized. Those cultivating strategic optimism consistently identify opportunity pathways completely invisible to problem-oriented perception, creating solution architectures that negative realists consider logically impossible. When someone observes an individual who repeatedly transforms seemingly intractable limitations into exploitable advantages, it creates a presence, an aura, that genuinely intimidates through its reality-transcending perspective. So, how does one develop this strategic optimism capability? You begin by implementing systematic opportunity extraction when facing any challenge. Immediately conduct a comprehensive analysis, specifically identifying potential advantages concealed within apparent limitation. Next, establish a possibility expansion methodology, deliberately exploring solution pathways conventional analysis deems impossible, systematically questioning every cannot assumption restricting conventional thinking. Most critically, develop future backward thinking, mentally establishing the desired outcome as inevitable, then reverse engineering the creation pathway from future achievement rather than forward projecting from current limitation. Consider the remarkable Jonathan Richardson, who revolutionized manufacturing during economic constraints experts considered categorically prohibitive. When questioned about his extraordinary innovation amidst seemingly impossible limitations, Richardson revealed his strategic optimism architecture. While competitors documented elaborate analysis proving achievement impossibility, we implemented intentional perspective reversal, systematically identifying advantage potential within each apparent constraint, he explained. This perceptual discipline revealed opportunity pathways completely invisible to problem-oriented analysis. This optimism-centered approach ultimately generated manufacturing breakthroughs that economic experts considered mathematically impossible given existing constraints. Ask yourself now, with brutal honesty, are you currently allowing circumstantial awareness to restrict possibility perception? Have you tragically confused realistic assessment with optimal orientation? What extraordinary opportunities remain invisible behind your limitation-centered perception? You consistently identify possibility pathways completely invisible to problem-oriented perception through fundamentally different reality interpretation. This creates solution architecture that appears almost supernatural to negatively biased observers. Most individuals unconsciously adopt limitation-centered perception as realism, experiencing perpetual constraint through opportunity blindness. Your strategic optimism generates extraordinary leverage by revealing advantage potential within apparent limitation, creating achievement pathways conventional analysis considers logically impossible. Remember always that effective optimism requires not naive positivity, but rather disciplined perspective, specifically engineered to reveal concealed opportunity. Study carefully those rare individuals who transform crises into breakthroughs. You'll invariably discover minds that combine factual awareness with possibility focus, recognizing that perception selectivity represents a fundamental prerequisite for extraordinary achievement, regardless of circumstantial reality. Will you commit to implementing systematic opportunity extraction, specifically identifying advantage potential within 3 current limitations? Can you establish deliberate perception discipline, reversing conventional problem opportunity orientation? The mind that terrifies through its strength, my friends, is precisely the mind that perceives possibility where others see only limitation, creating extraordinary achievement through strategic optimism while others remain perpetually constrained by realistic perception. A powerful mind is not gifted at birth. No, it is meticulously built, brick by painstaking brick, with unwavering focus, forged through pain, and honed by relentless effort. Every distraction you courageously resist, every fear you valiantly conquer, every habit you master, makes your mind more unbreakable. Stop waiting for confidence to miraculously appear. Stop hoping for strength to be bestowed upon you. Build it, own it, forge a mindset so powerful that even your silence commands profound respect. The time to build that mind is not tomorrow, it is now.